would word it, but maybe there's some mechanism where after we talk to the operator, potentially we can say till 9, but leave it at your discretion to pull it back to 8 o'clock in the midst of it. If I don't know how you'd word it, legal could probably give us some advice on that. I mean, that might be another way to approach it.
So like a reactionary approach, so if everything's going smoothly, there's no complaints, they continue, right. And then if there is...
But if there is, then the licensing would have the authority to pull it back on the weekdays to 8, like Sunday night.
Yeah, Ms. Fleckton?
Through you, Chair, we can definitely talk to the operator about lowering the volume and then leave it to our discretion if we're getting complaints. Monday to Thursday, we can ask them to shut it down at an earlier time.
Okay, very good. Okay, they're moved by Councillor Anitis. Those in favour? And they carry unanimously. On to the Downtown Financial Incentive Update. Ms. Abel, when you're ready.
Hi, good afternoon. Very much looking forward to talk to you about this program today. Just a bit of an overview about the program. It is a matching grant that's offered by the city for up to $10,000 for building owners and commercial tenants in our CIP. And it's about making street-oriented facade improvements, so doors, windows, signs, lighting, and exterior materials. Here's a few shots of some really successful projects in downtown. And this one currently underway, you might have noticed the orange tarping. I'm very much looking forward to the windows and doors and some exterior tiling that's happening here. So a bit about the impact of the program. Over the past 8 years, this facade grant has seen 84 storefronts in our downtown improved. And for every dollar that the city has contributed to this program, the private sector has actually contributed over $4, so quite a return on investment. A few benefits of the program. So staff are involved in the overall aesthetic and design improvements, so conversations with building owners and tenants about that. It's a real key to retail attraction and also support for growth in downtown. Often we see that the scope of a project can be larger because of the matching grant. And it also really supports our streetscape enhancements, and we saw that when there was improvements along King Street that we had building owners interested in upgrading their buildings, and we anticipate the same on Queen Street. A few major challenges that downtown is facing right now are retail disruption, vacancies, and in particular a few of our units that are staying chronically empty. And also the perceptions of safety study that recently came out. It was identified that more lighting, open stores, and presence of people are really key ingredients to changing perceptions about any city core. So to talk to a few of the opportunities of this program, as I said, that having a key business attraction tool like this is really a wraparound service that we can offer to small businesses that are looking to choose a location and kind of incenting them to choose or look at downtown very seriously. It also helps us execute on our SHAPE DTK community priority number 1, which is around igniting downtown as a platform for the next generation of urban shops, restaurants, businesses, and services. And it really helps to enhance the Queen Street experience, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. In the report, you'll see a section called Additional Consideration, and this is about enhanced facade lighting on Queen Street. So when city staff did quite a bit of public consultation around the Queen Street placemaking plan, we really overwhelmingly heard that the architecture that's on Queen between Charles and Duke is really of interest to the community. It has historic architecture there, and it's quite a dark kind of key corridor between different parts of downtown. So we would like if council could consider staff initiating a formal public process around making an amendment to the CIP. So in addition to the $10,000 that people would be eligible for in the regular matching grant, people that have businesses or storefronts or buildings within this designated area would be able to apply for an additional $10,000. Some of the input that we've done in community engagement we've done around this, we did the SHAPE DTK consultation, the Queen Street Placemaking Plan consultation, and we've taken this report to 2 committees as well as the BIA Board of Directors and got support from all 3 of those groups. Just a little more detail around the options we've presented in the report. We're looking for this program to be extended till December 31st, 2020. And our staff recommendation is to continue the program as is. So I've just got that up there for you to read through. I'm happy to take any questions about this program or our recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are some questions, beginning with Councillor Marsh.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Abel, for your presentation. Okay. So I was wondering if you could highlight for us how it is that you came to land on a recommendation to keep the program as is instead of just for new businesses to the downtown.
Sure, absolutely. Through the chair, we did quite a bit of consultation, and through that we really heard that this is as much a business attraction play as it is a business support play. And what we heard through much of the surveys that we did of people who participated in the program is that they may have not undertaken the scope or the size of their project or had the impact that their project had hoped if there wasn't the matching grant. So I think we're looking to continue that trend of businesses that are already located downtown feeling supported by this program, as well as attracting new business.
Are you at all concerned that the pot of money available might run out if we didn't just offer it to new businesses?
Through the chair, we have not seen that in the past. If there has been situations that kind of got close to that, it was close enough to the end of the year that we were able to put it into the budget for the following year.
So we don't anticipate that to be a problem? No. All right. So at the appropriate time, Chair, I'd like to move the recommendation as well as the amendment to direct staff to do consultation on Queen Street.
Very good. 5 people in the queue. Councillor Fernandez.
Thank you for the presentation. Sable, can you tell me how much has been spent annually over the last 9 years that this program has been in effect?
Sure. Got all the data right here through the chair. Corey, can I actually defer to you for that one?
Sorry, Mr. Bloom.
Through the chair, from 2009 through the end of 2017, from what I can see, we've paid out about $600,000 in grants in total, and which is the 84 projects that have been completed to date. So approximately, if I were to do my math on an annual basis, it's less than $100,000 a year, so $600,000 over about an 8-year window.
Okay, so 84 projects, but not all of them were on King Street.
Through the chair, that's correct. There's I would hate to even hazard a guess at what percentage, but they're certainly all over the downtown.
So you're saying we have approximately $55,000 remaining in it, and if we're saying that less than $100,000 was spent per year, $55,000 is going to do one more year, roughly.
Through the chair, so there is an item in the capital budget that we've used to increase funding into this account, and that's what's suggested in this report. So I think it's about an additional $75,000 each year for the next 3 years on top of the $55,000. So the existing 55 plus the 3 years of 75 would give us enough funding, I think, to do about 25 more projects potentially.
And what line item is that $75,000? What is it under?
Through the chair, there is a downtown financial incentive line in the capital budget. You may recall about 3 years ago, so that line was historically used to fund our building permit rebate program, and council, again I want to say about 3 years ago, made the decision to lessen the amount that was eligible under that program. So you may recall we limited it to $10,000 worth of grants a year. It used to be used to fund major capital projects like a city center condo, and it was $500,000 in building permit rebates. You guys changed that, so now we only fund small permits for essentially a shopkeeper to do a sort of $1,000 permit. There's about 85,000 roughly a year in that. So what council directed was 10,000 for building permits, and then the balance of that be used to fund facade grants. So that's where the 75,000 a year comes from.
Okay. I know that we're not talking about the upper story grants, but can we expect that you're going to come back to us to ask for that to also continue?
Through the chair, yes, that's on our to-do list over the course of the year. I believe that program sunsets in December of this year. And there's a number, both the Downtown Advisory Committee and EDAC have both asked that we have some discussion about that program. There's some suggested changes that both committees are interested in discussing, so I would imagine that will come back either end of this year or early next year.
And this is all funded through the Economic Development Fund, like as the umbrella, so to speak. These are all the line items underneath the Economic Development Reserve Fund. Is that right?
Through the chair, yes and no. So all of the money for these programs funnel through the reserve. The startup landing pad is entirely funded through the reserve. The facade grant is actually, the 55,000 that is left over is money that was in the previous facade loan program, and then the balance, so that 75,000 a year comes from capital. So yes, it flows through reserve, but I would say the facade grant program has historically been paid through capital.
Okay. Originally, this was only going to be a 5-year program, and then we extended it for another 4 years. Is that right?
Through the chair, I believe it was 3 years, but I could be wrong. But yes, it was initially 5 years. And so the province has, as part of their community improvement programs, so they oversee, or at least have a keen eye on these, recommend that council always set sunset clauses to at least force you to revisit the merits of the program. So that's why we're here. The last 3-year term has lapsed.
Okay. If there was a need to use that $75,000 for the Downtown Financial Incentive Program, that would leave this facade program short, wouldn't it?
Through the chair, yes, that would essentially leave us the 55,000 that we have left, which is essentially remaining from the old facade loan program. So we would have an ability to do 5.5 facade improvements, and then we'd be done. We'd essentially be out of funding.
Okay, I'll have comments.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I guess my question would be, and this is not necessarily a concern that I have, but some in the community, taxpayers, or even on this council, may question why are we incentivizing or subsidizing businesses through their own operation that have an avenue to generate revenue and monies. But looking at our downtown and where we currently are as a marketplace that's positioned to attract more businesses to come and conduct here in downtown, are we over the hill? Is there still a struggle? That's one question. The other is, when we have vacant retail, do we get revenue during that time when there's vacancies? And the third question would be, when there is improvements to the facade and there's overall increase of assessment value to that property, does that mean increased revenue coming back to the city as well?
Through the chair, on your first point, I would say that we have, through a quick count, know that we have about 25 vacancies still in downtown along King Street and some key side streets, and that still represents a large need of this program to see those vacancies be filled and the buildings be rejuvenated in a way. So I would say that is part of the short window on the request to extend this to end of 2020, so that we can kind of reevaluate the way this program, in the use of ION and new residents in downtown, to see how that's changing it over the next couple of years and where the need is at that point.
Okay.
Through the chair, so I'll comment on the financial side. Generally speaking, if most vacant storefronts, if the landlords are on top of it, which most of them are, they're applying for essentially the lowest possible taxation. So I would say we're collecting very little off the vacancies. There are communities that are looking to change that, so even vacancies collect a significant tax base. We don't have that yet. But yeah, so if having 25 vacancies, those are 25 units that we're not collecting taxes on, and if through this program we can facilitate those being filled, then obviously that will help the city's bottom line at the end of the year.
And the other question was, when you have an improvement, and there's increasement in assessment value, does that increase the revenue coming back to the city?
Through the chair, depending on the scale and scope of an improvement. So, for example, the Eaton Loft concept that you saw that's being under construction now is of significant nature that probably will eventually translate into some type of an assessment growth, which obviously, as you know, translates to increased taxes. Whether some of the smaller one-offs do, I don't know, but certainly the major significant ones I would imagine do. Eventually, there's an increase to the assessment.
So what I'm hearing from the answer to my 3 questions is it's not a one-way flow. Though the city may be investing in our core through this incentive program, but there is a benefit apart from obviously just the optics and it makes the downtown look nicer, but there is a direct financial benefit that comes back over time.
Through the chair, I would say that's a fair statement, and what we also know is that as the street level commercial fills up with more attractive and more and better offerings, it also increases the appeal of the major office towers downtown, which again aren't fully full. So I think there's exponential benefit that comes from this program, some which is measurable and some which is perhaps not.
That's what I expected, and I think your answer confirms that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Yaneski?
I'm very much in support of this, but I do have a question in regard to the enhanced facade lighting, and I'm not too sure what's involved, because when reading this, it doesn't elaborate in any way what it's going to look like and what you mean. Could you maybe just expand on what's intended, or do you have any examples that you can show on the screen?
Through the chair, I don't think we have any examples offhand. Happy to share some that we find after this meeting. It's really about highlighting the historic features that are along that block and that unique collection of architecture that's there. It's something that's done in other urban centers, and it really lighting those upper stories really improves the feeling at night, perceptions of safety, and also making as you're just walking by, even if the stores aren't open, giving it that feeling of having some vibrancy.
Yeah, through the chair, what I might add is there's other cities that have done this. Calgary, I think it's their 6th Street Promenade, whichever is their closed pedestrian street. In that case, they floodlight their historic buildings, which, so you can see it. I wouldn't say it's the sort of the classiest or most elegant way of doing it, but in many European cities, it's common for them to, usually it's not about flooding the buildings with light, but actually showcasing, so they would put a floodlight up the columns to showcase the historic columns. Or along the roof line, so that the resident gets a really elegant feeling of the character of those buildings. I think the latter is what we're looking for. Is we would be essentially enabling building owners to put lighting on that showcase the architectural features. So hopefully, if you were to, if you could imagine every building on Queen Street and those 2 blocks being elegantly lit, it would be quite an experience for residents.
So basically, what you'd have is a lighting set up on such a way over the first floor and shining upwards, so this way it enhances the front facade, I guess, basically of the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th floors, depending how big the building is, and the features that because some buildings are plain, but some of them got nice architectural, significant, design to it. So that's basically its purpose, right?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gazzola?
The facade program was over at the end of December, so as we speak now, there really is no facade program. Is that right?
Through the chair, with the exception of one that we approved last year, that we still have to honor, but we have not accepted or approved any application since January 1.
Yeah, because it's over, unless this is renewed by council. Did you state that there was $600,000 expended by the city between 2009 and when?
I believe it's to the end of 2017. So we started. That was 2016. So it does not include 2017. So we haven't added the totals because we have a number of projects that are still waiting to be finished that were approved in 2017. So that's just from 2009 to 2016.
Okay, in this year's capital forecast, no provision was made in that program, right?
Through the chair, no, other than the program to continue to go on.
Well, how much is available of that 85,000 if this is approved?
So through the chair, so out of the it either would stay there to fund the incentives, or council would make a decision at a future date, whether it's to fund a different program or do something different with it.
So does that mean you're going to have for 2018 75,000 plus 55,000 that was left over from last year?
That's correct.
Okay, so you're going to have 100 and whatever thousand, 130,000. Okay. Is this program being considered for the entire city or strictly for the downtown?
Through the chair, so this program is the planning and provision of community improvement plan, so CIP, and what it requires, so it's provincial legislation and it operates under provincial rules. In order you do that. That's in need of improvement, or you have to justify that this is a citywide challenge.
Okay, are there any other municipalities in our neighborhood that have a facade program?
Through the chair, the city of Waterloo does, and I believe Cambridge does as well, but I know Cambridge used to, and I believe they still do in their 3 areas. So I think all 3 cities do, but I definitely know Waterloo does.
Okay, I just want to revert to this return on investment for us. So it's a 4-to-1 return on investment, I'm told. So is there a way you can show me that we've had $2.5 million in our assessment growth from these programs in the past?
Through the chair, I think it would be difficult to, we could look at every single property that's been improved and look at the assessment growth over time. It would be we're talking about 85, potentially 85 properties, so it would take a little bit of time to do. I think it's probably better than return on investment is, to sort of not look at the $4 back as $4 in cash back, but it really, in terms of full contribution to the city's economy, through expenditures, through the construction industry, et cetera, is really the $4. So yeah, it would be a bit of an exercise, but it's something we could do if asked.
Yeah, well, it's not really a return on investment. What you're saying is that for every dollar you spend, you generate some other expenditures.
That's correct.
In the community, which may or may not help our taxpayers.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Etherington?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my questions have now been asked, so I just have comments.
You can go ahead, actually. There's only one other person in the queue, and Councillor Fernandez is commenting as well.
Okay, I would just refer councillors, and they've already looked at it, and there's already been discussion of it, page 3.2, number 2. That's the part that has always interested me. We still have an ongoing way, holes in our streetscape, empty stores that do not look pretty, and it's been my experience over the years that this program has been absolutely terrific at making areas and storefronts look much more attractive to shoppers and much more attractive to just about everyone in the downtown. If you walk around the downtown and you look at where these have taken place, you'll see an immediate difference between those who have experienced the facade program and those who have not. And secondly, I think once we get busy on Queen Street, on those historic buildings, and I will also support the lighting on those buildings. I think that would be fabulous on that stretch of Queen between Duke and between King or further down even. So I very much support this. Councillor Marsh and I are both obviously on the BIA. We've already discussed this once at the BIA, and so I very much support this program and would urge other councillors to do the same.
Thank you. Councillor Fernandez.
Thanks. Notwithstanding the fact that we've been seeing some improvements downtown over the last number of years, pretty much any small town or medium-sized town has got empty storefronts. I'm concerned that this is going to be, the next time this comes around, is going to be another ask again to improve. And the same thing with the upper story, is going to be another ask. We were assured the last time that this was going to be the last time, that we, needed to be putting some money towards some of the peripheral areas in the city, the suburbs. Because I look and drive past plazas all the time that have empty storefronts, and they don't look very nice either, and they look they become a great place for vandalism and a great place for graffiti, but I don't see anybody offering any of these small plazas or these small businesses incentives to do something to the front of their stores. So, you know what, I can't support this again. I was hesitant the last time. I think it's time that business creates its business. If we are doing so well, if we're on that upswing, then the businesses that want to come into our core are going to want to come into our core because they see everything that's happening. They see the condos that are being built. They see the money that has been spent in the past. But we can't keep giving to the downtown area. There are, let's say, 6 to 7 other areas of this city that require the additional leg up and the additional hand up to help them make a better storefront in their plazas or make something different look a bit better on the front to attract businesses. So I just feel like we're being prejudiced to one area of the city when there are large areas of our city that could use the same kind of help and the same kind of incentive program. So I won't be able to support it.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Vabanovich.
Thank you very much, Chair Davey, and I will be supporting the recommendation that's in front of us. I think it's important that we remember that the downtown is the heart of our community. It's the foundation, the building blocks upon which all the rest of our city is built upon. And I would argue, in fact, that we do make significant investments in the other parts of the city, whether it's significant investments in recreational amenities, trails, community center expansions, different things like that. We're making those investments because they are important to the community. I think we need to remember that the retail world, quite frankly, is in crisis. You're seeing this everywhere, and there are challenges that are being experienced as a result of that. And so downtowns continue to have challenges that they're dealing with. Now, I talk to people regularly throughout the city, and they're pleased with the progress that we're making in downtown. They're pleased that they come downtown and they see it's becoming more and more a place with places to go, festivals, events, and so on. But they're also looking that we continue in that direction. I think we have a report in front of us that demonstrates that there has been significant private sector contribution to every dollar that we've invested. And there's no one, I think, that would argue that there hasn't been significant assessment growth for a variety of reasons in the downtown. But in my view, at the end of the day, the return on investment is partially measured by that, but is partially measured by the number of people we see downtown. What is the public satisfaction, both the public who lives in our community as well as those who come here to stay in our hotels, enjoy the center in the square, and so on, the civic pride that exists. And it's important for us to continue to support initiatives like this so that we continue to see progress in terms of what is happening. As some colleagues have mentioned, we continue to have some challenges, and while we're making positive inroads, we're not at a point where we're out of the woods yet in terms of ensuring that the progress that we've made is permanent and can self-sustain itself going forward. So I'm hopeful that Council will support this. I think it's a small program and one that has seen a significant private sector uptake to match it.
Thank you. Councillor Gazzola.
Thank you. Yeah, we've done well with this program over a number of years. There've been a lot of people, a lot of private sector that has benefited from it, but Councillor Fernandez is right. There has to come a time when we have to start to stand on our own two legs, and I think we've supported this program for almost 10 years. We've expanded it over that period of time because it wasn't originally set up as a 10-year program. So I think we've done our share. It's really sometimes difficult to measure the return on our investment. But I don't see this as a mandate of our local government to be helping private businesses. We have done that. Now it's time for the small private businesses to stand on their own legs. We're just completing here this new LRT, which is $1 billion investment in this region, a substantial portion of it in our community. And the benefactors, the biggest benefactors of that, it's not a transit system, it's for the development that has taken place already in the downtown. So I think we've done our share. There are a lot of other areas in the city that we need to expend funds on, that we need to have funds available. I'm going to mention again my ongoing problem with trying to get a crossover on the LRT tracks in the area that I represent. That's an urgent matter. But there are many other areas throughout the city that need our help. So I think we've helped this program for a number of years. So now I think it's time to basically we're looking at $125,000 that we have sitting in this pot that maybe could be shared in other parts of the city. So I'd like, when it does come time, I'd like a recorded vote. Thank you.
Certainly. Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Chair Davey. Yeah, this is a sector that, in particular retail, that, as the Mayor mentioned, is going through some tremendous transition. And this may not be something that is talked about around this horseshoe on a regular basis, but I know when we had the BIA went through their consultation, and I know even through talking through many residents, people are always asking, what are we doing to help the retail in downtown? And having a bit of experience in this, because this is part of some of the business that I do, and I don't do this as an armchair economics. I have experience, and when you look at other developments, other commercial properties in town, you don't really see the significant amount of vacancy. When you see 25 vacancy in such a small stretch, to me that's a problem. That's a big problem. So that's telling me we're nowhere near where we need to be. We may have had a lot of other programs to add incentives, but we have a long way to go. And I encourage everyone to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Schneider?
Thank you, Chair Davey. Thanks for this report. I'm very happy to support it. I think this allows our businesses downtown to turn something that would be good into something that's great. We're matching the business's contribution to the vitality of our downtown. Our downtown will always be evolving and changing, so our support should always be there, and we should be assisting in the enhancing of the look and the feel and the vibrancy of our downtown. We're partnering with businesses here. They're putting an investment into our city. We're simply supporting it and helping them make it even better. There are other needs throughout the city. I don't dispute that at all, but let's look at ways at addressing that without taking this helpful program away or taking away from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Singh?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Very quickly, I share in all the positive comments made for this recommendation, and the way I see it, outside of really manufacturing, our downtown core and concentration of jobs is where things are at. And the way I see this is a program that will incentivize and support in keeping good, talented people within our core, attracting businesses that will further develop our core, more towers, more residences, and altogether I think that's a vibrancy for the entire city. That's a benefit to all our taxpayers. So this is a absolute city-wide benefit and supported. And as co-chair of the Economic Development Advisory Committee, it's a committee that has a wide spectrum of individuals that come from varying different business backgrounds, and we had strong, I think, unanimous support from the committee as well.
Thank you. I'll make my comments and I'll go back to Councillor Marsh as she moved the motion to close. I would agree with most of the comments I heard today, including actually those from Councillor Fernandez. I do think that there are very serious challenges in the future with respect to especially our malls. There's been, anyone that follows this this sort of stuff knows that there are predictions out there, and they're not, fringe lunatic predictions, that our malls are going to be, something like, I was reading 50% of our malls, and this is U.S. data, is going to be in danger of closing in the next 5 years, not 10 years or 20 years, in the next 5 years. So that is certainly something that, especially in the community that's been built up largely with the mall sort of planning, that's going to be a significant challenge for us, and I fear it's a bit of a tidal wave we're going to have to deal with in the not too distant future. Having said that, I don't think that's the rationale to not approve this, because while I do think there will come a time, hopefully it's 2020, when we can look at our downtown and say, yeah, we have some empty storefronts, but it's not to a degree that we need to continue funding it. I don't think we're at that point yet. I don't think, as someone mentioned, I don't think the ball is rolling down the other side of the hill just yet. So I don't see any need to cut this program at this time, but I do see a need, and this is something that our economic development staff are going to have to look at, hopefully, and get ahead of it, is how we support this coming wave of difficulties with the malls and the outskirts of the city. So I will support it, and I'll go to Councillor Marsh for closing.
Thank you, Chair Davey. I'm so pleased to move this motion and to hear the fulsome discussion around the horseshoe, mostly in favor of the motion, and even the opposite viewpoints. I think that it's important that we look at other areas, as has been mentioned by some of my colleagues, that yes, let's look and see if there are additional zones within our city that require a community improvement plan. And as a downtown councillor, of course I'm moving this motion. However, I would also very much be in support of making sure that our whole city is thriving, not just the downtown. That being said, as the Mayor mentioned, this is the heart of our city. When the downtown is thriving, it reflects well on the whole city. And that is why I think it's very important that we continue with the success of this program and maximize its impact, because not all of the businesses that could or would take advantage of it have been able to do so as yet.
Okay, a recorded vote has been called, as moved by Councillor Marsh. Those in favor? And opposed? Motion carries. And that concludes Finance and Corporate Services Committee. We'll reconvene in about 5 minutes, as long as it takes to switch the system over. Very good.